The night my in-laws were kidnapped, my husband was getting ready to go camping with his first love. I didn't stop him at all. I just called the cops right away. Last time, in my last life, I had stopped my husband from leaving, and he stayed to help rescue his parents. But because of that, he wasn't there to protect his ex. She ended up getting attacked and killed by wolves in the mountains. It was brutal. Since then, he never spoke to me again. Not until I was pregnant and close to giving birth. That's when he dragged me to the mountains. If it weren't for you, Debbie wouldn't have died, he shouted. How can you even live after what happened, Denise? I want to see you suffer the same pain she went through. That night, beasts tore my body apart, taking my life with my baby. But then I woke up. I was back on the day my in-laws were kidnapped. This time my husband didn't join the rescue. He went after his first love instead. But when he came back, he was never the same again. The memory of my death jolted me awake, screaming. My whole body was drenched in sweat, and I could still feel the pain of my flesh being torn apart. My hands instinctively went to my stomach. It was flat now. I listened to my heartbeat and tears poured down my face, unstoppable. I reached for my phone, fumbling to check the time. I was alive again. I was back to the day my in-laws were taken. Soon the kidnapper would call, demanding $5 million in half an hour, or they'd kill my in-laws. My husband and I grew up together. Our parents arranged our marriage when we were kids. Basically a baby date that everyone expected would turn into marriage someday. Whether it was a family arrangement or my feelings, I was meant to be his wife. I knew he had an ex-girlfriend, but his parents disapproved of her. Before the wedding, I'd even asked him, "Are you marrying me because you love me? Is this what you want?" He said yes. And I entered into the wedding, believing him. But after the wedding, he was distant. He never let go of his ex, still sneaking around with her. I acted like I didn't catch him. I didn't confront him. I loved him too much to lose him or our marriage. But because of that, I lost my life, and the baby I had carried for 10 months. This time that I've been given another chance to live, I won't make the same mistake. I looked up and saw Anthony, my husband, running down the stairs. Slowly, I stood up from the couch. When our eyes met, he said, "I won't be home tonight." I didn't say a word. I just glanced at the phone by the couch. The kidnapper's call was coming. As soon as it rang, I quickly answered and put it on speaker. "If you still want to see your dear Winston and Adele alive," a rough voice began, "bring $5 million to Hopewell Square. You have 30 minutes. Don't call the cops, or I'll kill these two old hags on the spot." The kidnapper's words reached Anthony's ears. He frowned slightly but then let out a scoff. "Seriously, Denise, you think this is funny? Do you enjoy getting them to help you put on some kind of stupid show all the time?" I stared at his face, remembering how he stood and watched when I died in my last life. The love I had for him for more than a decade had long disappeared. "Anthony, you heard the call. Do what you want. I won't stop you. Think it's an act if you want. I don't care. But let me make one thing clear. I'm not playing some games here with your parents." Maybe I sounded too calm because he hesitated for a second. In the end, though, he turned around and walked out without looking back. In my last life, when he got the call, he also thought it was just pretending. But I knew his parents were really missing, so I tried everything I could to stop him from leaving. That night, we searched endlessly, and eventually we rescued his parents. But after that, he left. When he came back, he brought the news that his ex was dead. Anthony blamed it all on me. After he stormed out, I called the cops right away. $5 million is no small amount, and the kidnapper wanted it in cash. I couldn't get it ready right away. Besides, even if the kidnapper got the ransom, there was no guarantee they'd let my in-laws go. I had to call the cops and let the experts handle the situation. After I dialed 911, they said they'd send cops over, but before they even arrived, my phone rang. It was someone I knew. "Hey, it's Rich. Did you and Anthony have a fight or something?" I frowned and asked flatly, "Why are you calling me?" "Well, you called the cops, didn't you? Look, I know you're mad at Anthony, but filing a fake report, that's taking things too far. You shouldn't act so petty like this." Elle didn't say anything, just let him ramble. "Listen, Anthony and Debbie, they don't have anything going on, but now you're making a scene over nothing. Seriously, you're embarrassing him." After listening for a while, I finally understood what he was implying. "You're telling me Anthony said I filed a fake report?" There was silence on the other end of the line in response to my question. I chuckled and said in a low voice, "Rich, let me give you some advice. Start doing your job. Dispatch officers over. If you don't, I'll report you too." He snorted. "Denise, don't think I'm like Anthony, always letting you boss him around. I'm not your family's freaking servant." Then he added, "Ha, crazy woman. Even a single strand of Debbie's hair is better than you." I hung up without another word. Then I called the police department where Rich was stationed and made sure to report him this time. Another team of officers arrived about 10 minutes later. They asked me some questions and listened to the recording of my earlier phone call. Their faces turned serious. They tried tracing the number the kidnapper used, but it wasn't registered, and when they called it back, the phone was already off. There was nothing we could do but wait for the kidnapper to call again. While the cops worked, I called my financial manager. "How much cash in my accounts can I withdraw right now?" My financial manager checked, and I replied, $3 million? Okay, get it ready. Then I called Anthony's uncle. The moment I told him that his brother and sister-in-law had been kidnapped, he gasped. "What? Who would do this? Where's Anthony?" "I don't know who they are. Anthony's off camping with Debbie. Uncle Joe, the kidnapper wants $5 million in cash. I don't have enough. Can you help me? I'll pay you back in a week." "You silly girl, you're saving my brother. Don't talk about paying me back. How much do you need?" $2 million. "Got it. I'll take care of it." Half an hour passed quickly, and the phone rang again. I grabbed it immediately, and the technician started tracing the call, but one of them shook his head. The location couldn't be tracked. My heart sank. On the other end, a harsh voice snapped, "Time's up. Is the money ready?" "I haven't got all of it yet," I said quickly. "Please give me a little more time. My husband isn't here and I don't have that much cash on hand." "I told you already. No ransom, no Winston, no Adele. I'll kill them." "Wait, please don't hurt them," I hurriedly begged. "You want money, don't you? Killing them won't get you anything. Why go through it all, taking the two of them, if in the end you won't get what you want? Please just give me 30 more minutes. I swear I'll have the rest by then." As soon as I finished speaking, I heard raw, desperate cries of pain. It was my in-laws. The kidnapper's sinister voice followed. 30 more minutes. If you're late again, say goodbye to their 5 fingers." He scoffed, adding, "And if you're trying to buy time, time, go ahead and see what that gets you. Just like that, the call ended. When I turned toward the door, Rich was standing there. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. He'd heard everything. Anthony called me. Rich hesitated, but he explained. He said his mom and dad were just helping you make a scene to keep him at home. Gosh, I didn't even have the energy to argue. Officer Chavez, one of the officers next to me, cut through the awkward silence. Sir, you should call him. Let him know what's going on. Rich nodded and stepped aside, phone in hand. I could hear the faint sound of his dial tone, but the line was busy. My mind wandered to my mother-in-law, her soft, fragile demeanor. She was the kind of woman who'd cry for someone to blow on her finger if it was scalded by tea. Now, God only knows what kind of pain she was enduring. I swallowed hard, trying to steady myself, and quickly dialed Anthony's uncle, but no luck. His line was busy too. Minutes dragged by before my phone lit up again. It was Anthony's uncle calling back. Before I could ask if he'd managed to gather the money, he sighed and said, Denise, I've got to say this. How could you stage something like this to fool your husband's parents? Look, I get that they treat you like their own daughter, but you should be the one persuading them to be more reasonable. Good grief, I nearly had a heart attack. Good thing I asked Anthony after I heard about this. At that moment, I felt completely hopeless. Uncle, are you saying Anthony told you this? This was all fake? My voice trembled. Fine, don't believe me. But can you get in touch with my in-laws? Because I can't, and the cops are here right now. There was a long sigh on the other end of the line, then another sigh. Anthony has someone else. Denise, listen, if it's too much to bear, just divorce him. It'll set you both free. I hung up without another word. Meanwhile, Rich had finally reached Anthony. Bro, you need to come back, Rich said, his voice urgent. Your parents might really have been kidnapped, but the voice that responded wasn't Anthony. It was Debbie's. Rich? Oh, come on. Are you playing along with Denise's drama too? Your brother's busy grilling beef. Hold on, I'll get him. I heard her call out to Anthony in the background, but he didn't even take the phone. He just muttered to her, hang up. That lunatic just doesn't let anyone live in peace. And then the line went dead. Rich turned back to me, his brows furrowing deeply. I lowered my eyes and let out a bitter laugh. I don't know what else to do, but the kidnapper wants the ransom brought to Hopewell Square. I don't have enough, but I'll go anyway. If I'm the bait, maybe it'll give the cops a chance to catch them. Officer Chavez beside me disagreed. Ma'am, let me bring the ransom instead. I shook my head. What if he knows me? If you go, they'll know something's wrong. Just please stay close by and protect me. I'll bring it myself. With no better ideas, everyone agreed to my plan. When the kidnapper called again, I lied and told him the money was ready. I asked where to take it, promising to hand it over in exchange for my in-laws. The voice on the other end let out a cold laugh and nonchalantly replied, fine. But something about his tone made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. My instincts screamed at me, and before he could hang up, I blurted, let me hear my in-laws' voices. The man sneered. Why the rush, babe? You'll see them soon enough. With that, the call ended. I quickly instructed my financial manager to withdraw as much cash as possible. Once the suitcase was packed, I dragged it to the location the kidnapper specified. When I arrived, another call came through. The kidnapper's voice was as sinister as ever. Leave the money and head to the underground parking lot. The old hags are waiting for you there. I didn't care about the money anymore. The cops were monitoring it. I left and rushed down to the underground parking lot, and that's when I saw it. My in-laws' car. The door was ajar. Inside, they sat slumped in their seats, their throats slashed, blood pooled on the floor. My knees gave out and I collapsed, crawling toward the car as sobs ripped through my chest. Somehow, my trembling fingers managed to dial 911. Two elderly, throat slashed. Hopewell Square underground parking lot. Please, send help. Quickly. I clutched my in-laws' cold hands tightly. Mom, Dad, please stay with me, okay? The doctors are coming. I'll call Anthony. I'll make him come here right away. My poor in-laws, barely clinging to life, weakly shook their heads. Denise, my mother-in-law whispered, after we're gone, divorce Anthony. All of our shares, properties, funds, and cash will all go to you. Dear, we're so sorry. I choked back a sob and shook my head frantically. No, no, no. You don't have to apologize, Mom. It's my fault. I didn't get the money fast enough. I wasted too much time. She gave me a faint smile. Oh, sweetie, don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. The kidnappers, they never intended to let us live. I kept calling Anthony over and over. The phone rang, but no one answered. Desperate, I sent him a message on Telegram. Anthony, your parents are badly hurt. Come back immediately. But the message seemed to vanish into the void. No reply. I kept calling, kept messaging, until his mom and dad slowly closed their eyes for the last time. And still, Anthony hadn't replied. The ambulance arrived, but it was too late. There was nothing they could do. I stood up, the world spinning around me, everything fading to black. I grabbed the car door to steady myself, only to feel someone supporting me. I turned to see one of the officers accompanying me. Ma'am, he said softly, the ransom wasn't taken. The kidnapper who came to collect it fell from a height during the chase and is currently unconscious. He paused.
Officer Chavez hesitated before continuing. The man is alive. As soon as he wakes up, we'll interrogate him. If he's willing to cooperate, there's still a chance we can find everyone involved. I stared blankly at him. A chance. The word felt hollow. No matter what happened now, Winston and Adele would never come back. The next morning, news of the kidnapping and double murder spread across the city. Anthony finally came home. Not because he answered my calls. Not because he saw my messages. He came because reporters had surrounded the house. The moment he stepped through the front door, still dressed in camping clothes, he frowned. Denise, what the hell is going on? Before I could answer, Officer Chavez walked over. Mr. Carter? Anthony nodded impatiently. Your parents were kidnapped yesterday afternoon. They were murdered before emergency services arrived. Anthony froze. What? His face slowly lost all color. Officer Chavez looked at him expressionlessly. We attempted to contact you numerous times. Rich lowered his head in shame. I called you. So did your wife. We have records showing more than 60 missed calls and dozens of unread messages. Anthony instinctively pulled out his phone. There they were. Dozens of missed calls. Message after message. Anthony, answer. They're really kidnapped. Please come back. Your parents are dying. His fingers began to shake. No. He whispered. No, this isn't possible. He looked at me desperately. Denise. I met his eyes calmly. For the first time since we'd met as children. I felt absolutely nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not love. Nothing. You chose Debbie. His lips trembled. I thought. You thought I was lying. He tried to grab my hand. I didn't know. I stepped back. You had every opportunity to know. You chose not to. Officer Chavez interrupted quietly. Mr. Carter, your parents left a recorded statement before they passed away. Anthony's eyes widened. A recorded statement? The officer nodded. The paramedics recorded their final wishes. He pressed play. Adele's weak, trembling voice filled the room. Anthony, if you're hearing this, your father and I are already gone. Anthony burst into tears. Mom. You failed your wife. You abandoned us. We were calling your name. Her breathing became ragged. But, you never came. Anthony collapsed onto his knees. His father spoke next. Everything we own belongs to Denise. She is our daughter. As for you. There was a long silence. Then Winston whispered his final words. Don't come to our funeral. The recording ended. The room became deathly silent. Anthony covered his face as broken sobs escaped him. No. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But apologies meant nothing now. The dead could no longer hear them. 3 days later, the kidnappers regained consciousness. Faced with overwhelming evidence, he confessed. The kidnapping had never been about ransom. It was revenge. Someone had paid them to kill Winston and Adele after luring them away with the promise of a business meeting. The ransom demand had only been intended to delay the family's response and confuse the investigation. When the police asked who hired them, everyone in the interrogation room fell silent. The name they gave was one nobody expected. Debbie. The interrogation room went completely silent. Officer Chavez frowned. You're saying Debbie hired you? The kidnapper nodded weakly. She found us through a middleman. Said the old couple had to die. Why? He laughed bitterly. Money. She said once the old couple were dead, Anthony would inherit everything. Then she'd convince him to divorce his wife and marry her. She promised us another bonus after the inheritance was settled. Every officer in the room exchanged stunned looks. But, the kidnapper continued, she kept saying one thing over and over. Make sure Anthony never comes back before it's over. Officer Chavez immediately ordered, issue an arrest warrant for Debbie. Bring Anthony Carter in for questioning. Anthony was still kneeling in his parents' living room when the police returned. Mr. Carter. He looked up blankly. We need you to come with us. His eyes widened. Did you catch them? We caught one. Anthony stood so abruptly he nearly stumbled. Tell me who did it. Officer Chavez looked him straight in the eye. The suspect identified Debbie as the person who hired them. Anthony's face went completely white. Impossible. You must have heard wrong. Debbie would never. The officer interrupted. The suspect knew details that were never released to the public. Anthony shook his head frantically. No. No. She loved me. Officer Chavez replied coldly. According to the confession, she loved your family's money more. Across town, Debbie was packing a suitcase when officers surrounded her apartment. She smiled when she heard the knock. Anthony? You're back already? The moment she opened the door, half a dozen officers pushed inside. Debbie Lawson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping and double murder. Her smile disappeared. What? There has to be some mistake. Officer Chavez placed the warrant in front of her. We have testimony from one of the kidnappers. For a split second, panic flashed across her face. It vanished almost immediately. I want a lawyer. The investigation uncovered months of evidence. Bank transfers through shell accounts. Burner phones. Messages arranging meetings with the kidnappers. Most damaging of all was security footage showing Debbie meeting the middleman several weeks before the crime. Anthony watched every piece of evidence in numb silence. Each new revelation shattered another excuse he'd made for her. Finally, he whispered. So. My parents. They died because of the woman I chose. No one answered him. There was nothing left to say. Meanwhile, I quietly packed my belongings. I no longer had any reason to stay in that house. As I zipped the last suitcase closed, I heard footsteps behind me. Anthony stood in the doorway, eyes swollen from days of crying. Denise. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I destroyed everything. He swallowed hard. But, can you give me one chance to make it right? I looked at him for a long moment. Then I calmly took the divorce papers from my bag and placed them in front of him. I gave you countless chances. You ignored every phone call. You ignored every message. You ignored your dying parents. My second life wasn't meant to save our marriage. It was meant to save me. Without another word, I walked past him, leaving him standing alone in the empty house where he had lost everything. The divorce was finalized in less than a month. Anthony didn't contest a single clause. He signed every page with trembling hands. Per Winston and Adele's final will, everything they owned passed to me. Their lawyers explained why. The chairman and his wife amended their will years ago. They wrote that if Anthony ever abandoned his responsibilities to his family, he would receive only the minimum amount protected by law. They never imagined it would actually happen. Anthony inherited almost nothing. He didn't complain. He simply stared at the documents with lifeless eyes. Debbie's trial moved quickly. The surviving kidnapper testified in court. The burner phones, bank transfers, surveillance footage, and financial records all pointed to her. The jury returned guilty verdicts on every major charge. As the sentence was read, Debbie screamed Anthony's name. This is your fault. If you hadn't been so easy to manipulate, none of this would have happened. Security dragged her from the courtroom as she continued shouting. Anthony never looked at her. His life collapsed piece by piece. His company's board forced him to resign after investors lost confidence. Friends stopped answering his calls. Rich, overwhelmed with guilt for dismissing Denise's report and delaying the response, publicly admitted his mistake during the investigation. He was disciplined by his department and could no longer bear to face Anthony. The large family home was sold. Anthony moved into a tiny apartment on the outskirts of the city. At night he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard his mother's weak voice. Anthony, we were calling your name. Then his father's final words. Don't come to our funeral. He woke up screaming almost every night. One rainy afternoon, months later, I visited Winston and Adele's graves. Fresh flowers rested quietly before the headstone. Someone else had already been there. A short distance away, Anthony knelt in the rain. His clothes were soaked. His hair clung to his forehead. He had grown thin, almost unrecognizable. He remained outside the cemetery gates. He remembered his father's last wish. Don't come to our funeral. Even now, he didn't dare step inside. He simply knelt beyond the entrance, apologizing over and over. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." No one answered. I quietly placed new flowers before their graves. "I've fulfilled your wish," I whispered. "I'm doing well. I'll treasure everything you entrusted to me." A gentle breeze stirred through the trees. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt at peace. I turned and walked away without looking back. Outside the cemetery, Anthony lifted his head as he saw me passing. Our eyes met briefly. He took one hesitant step forward before stopping himself. He understood. There was nothing left to say. Nothing left to ask for. Nothing left to save. He watched silently as I disappeared down the road. That was the last time we ever saw each other. Years later, people would remember Anthony Carter as a man who had once possessed everything: a loving wife, devoted parents, wealth, and a promising future. He lost them all in a single day, not because fate was cruel, but because of the choices he made. And unlike in my first life, this time I lived long enough to leave him behind forever. Epilogue: Anthony. 10 years later. Anthony was 42. The confident air everyone had once admired was gone. His hair had turned gray far earlier than it should have. Deep lines etched his face, and the expensive suits he once wore had been replaced by faded work clothes. After resigning from his family's company, no major business would hire him. His name had become synonymous with the scandal surrounding his parents' deaths. He drifted from one ordinary job to another, never staying anywhere for long. Every year, on the anniversary of Winston and Adele's deaths, he stood outside the cemetery gates. He never crossed them. His father's last words remained carved into his heart. "Don't come to our funeral." He believed he had no right to stand before their graves. Instead, he left 2 bouquets outside the entrance and quietly walked away. He also learned that Denise had rebuilt her life. She had used Winston and Adele's inheritance to establish scholarships in their names and funded charities that cared for elderly people. Their legacy had continued through her. He smiled sadly when he read about it in the newspaper. "Mom. Dad, you chose the right daughter." As for Debbie, she remained in prison, serving a life sentence. Anthony never visited her once. One winter evening, Anthony opened an old storage box. Inside were photographs from his childhood. There was one of him and Denise at 6 years old, smiling as they held hands during a family picnic. On the back, Adele had written, "Our future son and daughter. May they always protect each other." Anthony broke down. For years, he had blamed fate. Then Debbie. Then Denise. Only after losing everything did he finally accept the truth. The person who destroyed his family had been himself. He pressed the old photograph against his forehead and cried until sunrise. No one heard him. No one comforted him. Because everyone who once would have had either died, or walked away forever. That lonely apartment became the place where Anthony spent the rest of his life, carrying a regret that no apology, no amount of grief, and no passage of time could ever erase.